that he was a big fan of community theater, and he was kind of a community theater kind of guy. And
Nice.
he used to go out and read, right? If we think of the era prior to the advent of electricity,
Yep.
how did people listen to music? How did people listen to stories? Well, either they read them, or they read sheet music, or they played them
Yep.
and learned them. And so I'm really carrying on a very, very old narrative tradition. I read a comment in a post by a reader that they read the story on A Christmas Carol, and the poster said, "Yeah, oh, this guy's just ripping off Patrick Stewart." It's like, well, you're right on ripping off Patrick Stewart. No,
Funny.
You got to go back to Homer, I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, let's. Why don't you do your little piece, and we'll just get involved right here in the studio. Go ahead, Tom Harryman, A Christmas Carol, this weekend at the Frohenthal.
Once upon a time, of all good days out of the year on Christmas Eve, Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. It was cold, black, biting weather. The city clocks had just gone 3, but it was quite dark already. It had not been light all day, and candles were flaring in the windows of the neighboring offices like ruddy smears upon that palpable brown air. Now, Scrooge sat with his counting-house door open, that he might keep an eye upon his clerk, who, in a dismal little cell beyond, a sort of tank, sat copying letters. Now, Scrooge's fire was very small, but the clerk's was so very much smaller that it seemed like one coal. "A Merry Christmas to you, Uncle. God save you." Now, that was the voice of Scrooge's nephew. "Bah!" said Scrooge. "Humbug!" "Christmas a humbug? Uncle, you don't mean that, I am sure." "I do. A Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough." "What right have you to be dismal? What reason have you to be morose? You're rich enough." "I have every reason when I live in such a world of fools as this. A Merry Christmas? Out upon Merry Christmas. What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills with no money? A time for finding yourself another year older and not an hour richer? Every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips ought to be boiled in his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart, he should. Nephew, you keep Christmas in your own way and allow me to keep it in mine." "But you don't keep it." "Well, leave me alone, then. Much good it has ever done you." "Well, there are many things from which I might have derived good, by which I have not profited, I dare say. Christmas time among the rest. But I have always thought of Christmas as a good time, a kind, charitable, benevolent time, when men and women seem, as if by one consent, to open their shut-up hearts freely. And though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe it has done me good, and will do me good, and I say God bless it." Well, the clerk from the tank involuntarily applauded. But then, realizing his indiscretion, he turned and poked at his fire, only to extinguish its last frail spark forever. "Oh, don't be angry, Uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow. I ask nothing of you. I want nothing from you. Why cannot we be friends?" "Good afternoon." "Well, I'm sorry with all my heart to find you so resolute. But a Merry Christmas, Uncle." "Good afternoon." "And a Happy New Year." "Good afternoon." Well, the nephew then left without an angry word notwithstanding, and stopped at the outer door to bestow the season's greetings upon the clerk, who, cold as he was warmer than Scrooge. "There's another fellow, my clerk, at 15 shillings a week, with a wife and a family, and Merry Christmas upon his lips. I'll retire to Bedlam." Now, this lunatic, in letting Scrooge's nephew out, let 2 other gentlemen in.
"Oh, Scrooge and Marley's, I believe. Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?"
"Mr. Marley is dead. He died 7 years ago this very night."
"Oh, well, at this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than usually desirable that we make some slight provision for the poor and the destitute."
"Are there no prisons?"
Plenty of prisons.
And the union workhouses, are they still in operation?
They are still. I wish I could say that they were not.
Ah, I thought by what you had said at first that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course. I am very glad to hear it.
A group of us are endeavoring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. We choose this season of the year because it is a time when want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. Now, what may I put you down for?
Nothing. It is none of my business. It is enough for a man to keep track of his own business and not interfere himself in other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. And if the poor are hungry and like to die, they had better do so quickly and decrease the surplus population. Now, good afternoon, gentlemen.
Well, seeing as it was useless to pursue their point, the gentleman left, and Scrooge returned to his labors with an improved opinion of himself. Just then, the owner of one scant young nose, gnawed and mumbled by the hungry cold as bones are gnawed by dogs, stooped down to Scrooge's keyhole to regale him in a Christmas carol. But at the very first sounds of
God rest ye merry gentlemen, may nothing you dismay,
Scrooge seized a ruler with such energy of action that the singer fled in terror, abandoning the keyhole to the fog and even more congenial frost. At length the hour of shutting up the counting-house arrived.
You'll want all day tomorrow, I suppose?
If quite convenient, sir.
Well, it's not convenient, and it's not fair. If I was to stop you 1/2 crown for it, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'll be bound.
The clerk smiled faintly.
But you don't think me ill-used when I pay a full day's wages for no work?
The clerk observed that it was only once a year.
A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose you must have the whole day. Be here all the earlier the next morning.
And Scrooge walked out with a growl.
Wow. How about that? Unbelievable. And you did the whole thing. No paper, no nothing. You've got it all ready to go.
Oh, God, I hope so.
Man, what a show. And what a great sneak preview. Tom, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, Andy.
And
thank you very
if
much.
If you've never had the opportunity to take your kids to something like a play, like the Christmas Carol or the Nutcracker, or even the free movie day, just to get them out and have a good time, it's all going on at the Frohenthal this weekend. Linda, thanks for bringing Tom in.
Yep,
Tom, thanks for the performance.
Oh, my pleasure.
Everybody go Frohenthal.
All right.
Every ticket
Go
counts,
Fro.
Go
right?
Frohenthal.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about something nice from the Marshall Tucker Band? After all that, you can't really top it, so we'll just do what we can. It's Can't You See? And it is on Muskegon's 100.9.